Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. I hope you all are fine. This is your chemistry lesson, and in today's lesson we'll start about mole. We'll learn that why it is important to use mole instead of any other unit or any other measuring technique. So as you know that to weigh something, or when you buy something, if you want to buy shoes, you will buy a pair of shoes, right? It's not like you will buy just one shoe and not the other, but you will buy a pair of shoes. So for shoes you use the term pair. If you buy some drink, you will buy that drink in 1 liter or 2 liter. So are using the unit liter. If you are going to buy something that is counted as dozens, then you will use the unit dozen. Like for pencils, you need 1 dozen of colored pencils. You need 1 pair of shoes. So these are different units we use in daily life to buy different things, or for different thing. When we talk about different thing, we use these units. But in chemistry, when you study about atoms, when you talk about atom, you cannot use these terms. Like you cannot use dozens, you cannot use kilograms, grams or pair for an atom, because you know that atom is very tiny particles and we cannot see atom with our human eye. So it is very difficult to count the number of particles in an atom. So to avoid this difficulty, chemists perform calculations to determine the chemical formula of compound. And you know that if we are going to calculate the chemical formula or the molecular mass or formula mass of any compound, we are not going to measure that in dozens or in kilograms. So what unit will you use? So as you cannot count the number of particles, number of particles means, by the term particles we mean the ions, the atoms, the molecules that are present in a compound. Because particles are so small and numerous that it is impossible to count them. So let's say if you want to calculate the number of atoms in one molecule of sodium chloride, if you are going to calculate, then you can't do that. So simply what you will do, you will use a unit mole to count particles. Mole is a unit that is used to count the number of particles in chemistry, because we are unable to use other different units. We cannot measure the atoms by using other units. So we have to use mole. Mole is also called, it has value 6 multiplied 10 raised to power 23. 1 mole is always equal to 6 multiplied 10 raised to power 23. Let's say when you say 1 mole of carbon, 1 mole of carbon means it will contain this number of particles. If you want to calculate the number of particles in 2 moles of carbon, now For this value is for 1 mole. If you want to calculate the number of particles in 2 moles of carbon, you will simply multiply this value with 2 and you will get the answer 12 multiplied 10 raised to power 23. And in the same manners, if you want to calculate the number of particles in 3 moles, 4 moles, 5 moles, you simply have to multiply that number with the Avogadro's number or Avogadro's constant. This value is called Avogadro's constant or Avogadro's number. 6 multiplied 10 raised to power 23 is called Avogadro's number. So 1 mole of any substance will have the same number of particles. All the metals, all the non-metals, metals or non-metals, if you specify the 1 mole, 1 mole will always contain 6 multiplied 10 raised to power 23. So any metal and non-metal will have the same number of particles. Let's say that 1 mole of sodium and 1 mole of fluorine. You know that the relative atomic mass of both these elements are different. But we are discussing about mole. Mole is related to number of particles. What is the number of particles in 1 mole of sodium and in 1 mole of fluorine? 1 mole of sodium, 1 mole. You have to consider the number of moles. It is 1 mole and fluorine is also 1 mole. So both these elements will have 6 multiplied 10 raised to power 23 number of particles. What is the number of particles in 1 mole of sodium and 1 mole of fluorine? It is 6 multiplied 10 raised to power 23. Clear? So if you consider 2 moles, for 2 moles you have to multiply this value with 2. Now the 2 moles of any element in periodic table will have same number of particles. Their relative atomic masses can be different, their relative molecular mass can be different, or their relative formula mass can be different, but the number of particles in any element will be same, because when you talk in terms of moles, 1 mole always have 6 multiplied 10 raised to power 23, and for 2 moles you have to multiply this value with 2. So this value is called Avogadro's constant or Avogadro's number, and we call this value that 1 mole of any substance will have 6 multiplied 10 raised to power 23 atoms or particles. Particles refer to number of atoms, number of molecules, ions, or anything, right? So 6 multiply 10 raised to power 23 carbon atoms. What is the mass of this the carbon atoms is 12 gram. Number of mole is 1. Mole is 1, but the relative atomic mass will remain same. As I have told you already, in case of 1 mole of sodium and 1 mole of fluorine, they have the number of particles equal to Avogadro's number, this one. But they have their own relative atomic masses. For sodium it is 23, for fluorine it is 9. Sorry, its atomic number, it's 19. Clear? Number of particles will be same, but they do have their own relative atomic masses. So the mole is a number you can utilize to represent a huge quantity of things. But this quantity is used only in chemistry. You cannot use this quantity in your daily life. You cannot buy your things in moles. You cannot buy your shoes in moles, your drinks in moles, or your pencils in moles. You refer to mole when you are talking about atoms. How you can convert number of moles and number of particles into each other. To convert number of moles, we need this formula. Number of moles is equal to number of particles divided by 6 multiply 10 raised to power 23. I have told you that number of particles means it can be atoms, molecules, or anything. So if you have to find out the number of moles and you are provided with number of particles and this value is already known. So what you will do, you will simply write down the number of particles. Let's say the number of particles are 1 multiply 10 raised to power 23. Now you have to divide this value by Avogadro's constant. 6 multiply 10 raised to power 23. And the answer will be 0.167 mole. You have to write mole also because this is the unit that we are using. So it's all for you today's lecture. We'll do more example in tomorrow's lecture. Allah Hafiz.